I never thought I'd be the one writing a story like this, but here I am. It's a mess of a story, honestly. It's raw and real, and I need to get it out somewhere. Maybe it'll help someone else avoid my mistake, or maybe it'll just serve as a warning. It all started with us. My fiancée, Mia, and I had been together for 5 years. We met in college, and I thought I knew everything about her. She was the girl I'd been dreaming about since I was a kid. Sweet, smart, funny, the whole package. We'd planned this perfect wedding, and I couldn't believe I was finally about to tie the knot with her. The details were set, the dress, the guest list, the honeymoon, all perfect, or so I thought. The last few weeks before the wedding, I noticed little things. Mia seemed distracted, often on her phone late at night. She'd brush it off, saying she was just talking to her sister or browsing Pinterest. But I'd catch her sneaking glances at her screen, quick as a rabbit. I told myself I was paranoid, that it was just wedding jitters. Still, something didn't sit right. It wasn't until the week before the wedding that I found my first real red flag. I'd gone into her purse to grab some gum and found a crumpled receipt from a hotel. It was from 2 nights ago, almost a week before the wedding. I looked closer. The receipt was under her stuff, hidden in the bottom of her bag. I saw the name of the hotel and the date. That hotel was a good 2 hours away, in a town I knew she'd never go to for a casual weekend. My stomach dropped. I didn't want to make a scene, so I kept quiet. But I kept that receipt. I started paying more attention, noticing how she'd be extra secretive with her phone. She'd hide her screen when I walked by, and I caught her deleting messages more than once. My gut was screaming to dig deeper, but I hesitated. Then, on the day of the wedding, I was a nervous wreck. Everything was supposed to be perfect. We stood in front of everyone, promising to love each other forever. Mia looked stunning, radiant even as she said her vows. But I kept sneaking glances at her, wondering if she was thinking about someone else. I couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that something was wrong. After the ceremony, we went to a nearby hotel for the night, just us. As I was unpacking, I found her phone. Without thinking, I scrolled through a few messages. That's when I saw it, the messages. They weren't innocent, they were sexual, intimate. They talked about meeting up, finally being alone. My chest clenched, my hand trembled. Someone else had been inside her head, inside her life, right up until the last minute. I confronted her in the hotel room, voice shaking, trying to sound calm. "Mia, who is this? Who have you been talking to?" She froze, her face gone pale. "It's nothing," she stammered, but I didn't buy it. I held up her phone. "Nothing, these messages say otherwise. How long has this been going on?" She looked away, silence thick between us. That's when I saw the hotel receipt again, crumpled in her purse. Right then I knew. My wife, my bride-to-be, was cheating on me. I'd never felt so betrayed, so sick. She had been lying to me for months, maybe longer. And the worst part, we were on the brink of starting a life together. The woman I trusted the most. The woman I loved. She was with my best man, the guy I introduced to her as my close friend. That's when I realized I couldn't just walk away and forget. I needed to make her pay. I needed to do something that make her regret every second she spent betraying me. I started crafting a plan. But I didn't let her know I'd found out yet. Not until I was ready. I had to be careful, precise. I couldn't afford her to catch on before I executed my revenge. The thing is, I don't regret what I'm about to do. Revenge isn't about anger alone. It's about reclaiming your dignity when someone strips you of yours. And trust me, I was about to take that back. But first, I had to see how far she was willing to go with her lies and how much I could use that against her. Next, I started gathering evidence. Hidden cameras, hotel receipts, and those secret messages. I kept everything. I wasn't going to let her get away clean. I had my plan, and it was going to be sweet, but I'll save that part for the next chapter. That night after my discovery, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through every detail. The smell of fresh sheets and the faint hum of the city outside didn't drown out the pounding in my chest. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How could the woman I loved do this to me? How could she betray me so easily? It was like the ground had shifted beneath my feet overnight. I decided I needed to find out just how deep this went. I couldn't trust her anymore, not completely. So I started setting up my plan. I bought a small voice recorder and hid it in the hotel room where I suspected they met. I knew she'd come back there once she realized how suspicious I was. I also ordered a few discreet cameras online, Nothing obvious, just enough to catch her in the act if she slipped up again. Over the next few days, I kept my cool. I acted like everything was normal around her, even though inside I was boiling. I'd catch her in tiny lies, like when she said she was working late, but her phone showed she was out drinking with friends, or when she claimed she'd be home early, but I'd find her messages from the hotel receipt that she'd clearly kept hidden. Every little thing was a piece of my puzzle. The day after the wedding, I made sure she went shopping with her friends. I had the cameras positioned at her apartment, pointed at the door, and I kept the voice recorder going. My heart was pounding so loud I was afraid she'd hear it. I promised myself I wouldn't lose control, but it was hard. Every time I saw her smile or heard her laugh on the recordings, I felt like I was slipping into a rage I couldn't control. The moment I'd been waiting for came 2 days later. I got a notification from the camera she was back at the hotel. I set up my phone to record everything, and I kept the recorder hidden in my pocket. I was pacing around my apartment, palms sweaty, feeling like I was about to explode. Then I heard her voice on the recorder, soft, seductive. That was the moment I realized she was planning to meet him again. I needed her to know I was watching. I wanted her to feel like she was caught even before I confronted her face to face. So I sent her a message. Nothing mean, just a simple, "I saw you today, we need to talk." She responded immediately, acting clueless. "What are you talking about? I've been with my friends all day." Yeah, right. I knew the truth. That night I decided I'd had enough. I wasn't going to wait around while she kept sneaking around. I had my evidence, screenshots, recordings, receipts, and I was ready to use them. But I also wanted to make her feel the pain. I wanted her to understand that her betrayal wasn't just some mistake, but a calculated blow to everything we had built. I called her and told her I needed to see her. "Come home tonight," I said, voice cold and steady. "We're going to talk." I could hear her hesitating, trying to keep her cool. "Fine, I'll be there. Just tell me what's wrong." I didn't bother to hide my anger. I was done with the games. When she arrived, I was sitting on the couch with my phone in my hand. I played the recordings aloud, one after another. Her face went pale as she realized I wasn't bluffing. "What the hell is this?" she managed, voice trembling. I looked her straight in the eyes. "You've been lying to me all this time. I've watched your secret meetings, read your messages, and seen the hotel receipts. How many times did you think you could get away with it?" She broke down then, tears streaming down her face. "It wasn't supposed to happen like that," she whispered. "It just happened, and I didn't want you to find out." I felt nothing but cold fury. "You betrayed me. You, my wife-to-be, cheated on me with my best man. And for what? A few moments of pleasure." I shook my head. "You're lucky I'm not throwing you out right now." She begged, pleaded, crying on the floor, but I saw through her tears. That's when I decided I'd had enough. I told her to pack her things and leave, that I didn't want to see her face again. I handed her a set of keys to her apartment and told her to get out, and I knew then this wasn't just about ending the relationship. It was about making sure she knew I was in control now. As she left, I felt a strange mix of relief and rage. She'd taken everything from me, but she'd also awakened something in me. A need to make her regret every second she wasted with him. I wasn't just going to walk away and forget. I was going to make her wish she'd never crossed me. Looking back, I realized I was never afraid to fight for myself. That's what this was about, standing up after being knocked down. I may have lost her, but I gained a sense of clarity. Next step, the revenge. And I knew exactly how I was going to do it, but I'll tell you that plan in the next part. For now, just know I was done playing nice. Would you like me to continue? After I kicked her out, I spent a few days trying to breathe and process what had happened. Honestly, I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. But beneath all that chaos, I was already plotting. Revenge isn't about just rubbing someone's nose in it. It's about reclaiming your dignity, especially when someone's taken a massive dump on it. I wasn't going to let her walk away without feeling the consequences. First, I went full-on detective mode. I reviewed every piece of evidence I had, screenshots, recordings, hotel receipts. I even remembered a few details I'd overlooked. I wanted to make sure I knew every move she made, every lie she told, every step she took after she left my place. If she thought she could hide or spin her way out of this, I was going to prove her wrong. I decided I needed leverage, something she wouldn't see coming. That's when I remembered a friend of mine who owns a small security and tech firm. I called him up, explained everything. I want everything to be monitored, her phone, her emails, her social media. I need to know what she's doing, who she's talking to, everything. He was hesitant at first, but once I explained the betrayal, he got it. He set up everything, little hidden cameras in her apartment, remote access to her phone, even some GPS tracking. I wasn't about to leave anything to chance. I didn't tell her I was watching. I kept my cool, played the part of the heartbroken ex who just lost everything. Meanwhile, I was gathering information like a predator stalking its prey. I had her under surveillance now, and every move she made was being documented. It was a slow, agonizing process, but I knew patience was key. I wanted to catch her in the act, not just assume things. In the meantime, I also contacted my lawyer. I wanted to make sure I was protected legally, just in case she tried anything sneaky. I kept all the evidence, screenshots, messages, recordings in secure folders. I knew I'd have to show them at some point, but I didn't want her to find out I was onto her too soon. I played it cool, pretending I was devastated while secretly planning my next step. One night a week after she moved out, I got a ping from my security app. She was at the hotel again. My stomach clenched. She was meeting him again. I sat in my apartment, heart pounding like a drum. I felt a rush of adrenaline I hadn't experienced in years. She thought she could keep sneaking around, but I had her under my thumb now. I hit record on everything, eager to catch her red-handed. I didn't even bother texting her. I wanted her to think I was broken, vulnerable, that I wasn't paying attention, but I was, always watching. I watched as she entered the hotel with a familiar figure. My blood boiled. This wasn't just an affair, it was her final slap in my face. I felt the urge to confront her right then and there, but I held back. Patience. That's what revenge requires. In the meantime, I kept watching and collecting. I wanted her to see that I was serious, that I wasn't just some guy who'd get over it. I was about to turn her world upside down. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. I decided I'd go see her in person at her apartment when she least expected. I wanted her to see that I was in control now, that I knew everything. I was going to give her an ultimatum, come clean or face the consequences. I was ready. She thought she'd buried her secrets, but I was digging them up one by one. I also crafted a plan to make her feel just how much she'd lost. Not just by breaking up with her, but by exposing her lies to everyone she cared about. I had friends in the right places, mutual friends, colleagues, even a few who owed me favors. I was going to show everyone what kind of person she really was. All this was just the beginning. I knew I couldn't let her get away with sneaking around, not after what she'd done. Next, I'd reveal everything, show her her life was about to change forever. But for now, I kept my focus. I had her under my thumb, and I was counting down to the moment I'd make her regret crossing me. Would you like me to continue? The day I finally decided to make my move felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. My stomach was clenched tight, but my mind was clear. I knew what I had to do, and I wasn't going to second-guess myself anymore. I'd spent days gathering evidence, photos, recordings, her location data, and now it was time to put everything into motion. I reached out to her that morning, just a simple message. We need to talk, now. Her response was hesitant, maybe even a little nervous. Wait, I'm busy today. I ignored that. I knew she was lying, hiding behind her usual excuses. I told her I'd be waiting at her place. When she finally showed up, her face looked like a ghost, pale, tight-lipped, eyes darting around as if she was trying to find a way out. I opened the door and stepped aside, letting her in. She looked at me like I was a stranger. "What's going on?" she asked, voice shaky. I handed her my phone and I pressed play on the audio files I'd recorded. Her face drained of color as the sound of her voice and her lover's filled the room. The secret messages, the intimate conversations, the hotel receipts, all laid bare. "Is this some kind of joke?" she whispered, voice cracking. I didn't say anything right away. I just watched her squirm under the weight of what I'd uncovered. My palms were sweaty, my heart pounding so hard I thought I'd lose control. "You've been lying to me." To my face, I finally said, voice low and cold. "All those nights, all those excuses, you've been cheating with my best man." She burst into tears, clutching her head. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she sobbed. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I almost laughed. That's all she had, an excuse. I'd heard enough. I was done playing her game. I told her she had a choice, own up or keep lying. Either way, I was finished. I want you out, I said, voice steady but furious. Pack your shit and leave. Don't come back. Her eyes widened with shock, but she didn't argue. She grabbed a bag and started crying harder, stumbling through her tears. The guilt looked good on her. It should have been written all over her face from the beginning. As she left, I watched her walk out of my apartment, her shoulders slumped like a defeated woman. I closed the door, leaning against it for a moment, trying to breathe. That was the first real step. Now I had to make her regret every moment she spent screwing around behind my back. I needed her to know I wasn't just going to walk away and forget. Not like she thought. I sat down and pulled out my phone, pulling up the evidence I'd collected. I knew I couldn't just let her go without making an impact. She'd betrayed me, lied to my face, and played me for a fool. I decided that from here on out, every piece of her life would be exposed. I'd show her that I had the power now over her secrets, over everything. Over the next few days, I plotted how to deliver my final blow. I contacted some friends, people I trusted, and explained what she'd done. I told them to prepare. I was going to make her feel the full weight of her betrayal, but I wanted to do it in a way that left her with no room to deny or run. One evening, I met with a few of those friends. We set up a plan to leak her messages and photos to a few key people, mutual friends who would understand what she was really like. I wanted her to see her reputation crumbling, piece by piece. I wasn't going to let her walk away unscathed. The idea was simple. She'd realize just how much she'd lost, and I'd ensure she knew it was her own fault. That night I sent her a message. It's done. You're going to hear from others soon. Her reply was a panicked, What did you do? I didn't respond. I just sat back, knowing I'd done enough to make her regret every lie, every betrayal. I felt a strange sense of calm now. I had taken control. I'd turned the tables completely. She thought she could cheat and get away with it, but I was about to show her that the truth always finds a way to come out. That was how I was going to reclaim my dignity piece by piece. Next, I planned the final confrontation, face to face, with her, knowing I had everything. That's when I knew the real game would begin. But for now, I just waited. Let her stew in her guilt. Let her watch her world fall apart. I'd be there when she hit rock bottom, and she'd never forget who was in charge. Would you like me to continue? The days that followed felt like standing on a ledge, staring down at a chasm I wasn't sure I wanted to jump into. My nerves were shot, but my mind was sharp. I knew she'd start to realize her lies were catching up. With her, I also knew that I couldn't keep hiding behind my phone and recordings forever. The final confrontation had to happen, and I wanted it to be the moment she finally understood she was completely exposed. I waited until late evening, just when the city outside started to quiet down. I told her I'd meet her at her apartment. No excuses, no games. I wanted her to believe I was still vulnerable, still hurt, but that I had a calm, calculated streak underneath. I told her I had something to show her, and she agreed, probably thinking I was ready to forgive or maybe just desperate for answers. When she arrived, the air was thick with tension. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, eyes rimmed red, hair messy, clothes wrinkled. She was nervous, that much was obvious. I kept my face neutral as I stood there, backing her into a corner with the evidence I'd gathered. I didn't waste time. I pressed play on my phone, and the recording started to fill the room. Her voice, her lover's, every secret, every lie pouring out for her to hear. Her hands shook as she listened, tears streaming down her face. She tried to speak, but her voice faltered. It's not what it looks like, she gasped. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, I cut her off. Really, because I've got the messages, the receipts, the hotel stay, all of it. How long have you been sneaking around behind my back? Months, years. She collapsed onto the couch, clutching her head. I was scared, she whispered. I didn't want to lose everything, my job, my friends. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't want you to find out. That was the moment I'd been waiting for. I stepped closer, my voice low but firm. You think I did know? You think I was blind? I saw the signs, you lying, hiding your phone, deleting texts, those secret meetings. You thought I was stupid, that I wouldn't notice. Well, I did. Her face twisted with shame. I'm sorry, okay? I messed up. I was weak. Please, just forgive me. I love you. I shook my head, feeling a mixture of disgust and cold satisfaction. Love, that's why you cheated. You broke my heart for a few stolen moments. I paused, my fists clenched. You're damn right I don't forgive you, not now, not ever. I told her she had one last choice: leave and never come back, or stay and face the consequences. She looked at me with pleading eyes, but I'd made up my mind. I wasn't interested in her apologies anymore. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done. That's when I reached into my pocket and pulled out a folder of her messages, screenshots I'd taken, proof of everything. I want you to see what everyone will know soon, I said coldly. This is just the beginning. Your reputation is going to be in ruins publicly, and I'll be the one making sure of it. Her face turned pale. You can't do that. Oh, I already am, I said, voice steady. You betrayed me, you betrayed yourself, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you really are. You're not just a cheater, you're a liar and a user, and I refuse to be the fool anymore. She broke down into sobs, begging, pleading. I wasn't moved. I handed her a bag. Pack your things, I said, and don't come back. I don't want to see you again. Not now, not ever. As she left, I felt a strange mixture of relief and cold satisfaction. I'd finally taken control of the situation. Her lies had been exposed, and she was left with nothing. No excuses, no hiding. I knew I'd done what I had to do. That night, I sat alone, staring at the evidence on my phone, knowing that I'd just turned the page on a nightmare I never wanted to live through again. The next day, I went to the bank, transferred her share of the joint account into an account I controlled, and sent her a final message. Goodbye. Don't try to contact me. I hope you remember how badly you screwed up. That was the turning point. I'd reclaimed my dignity, and I was finally free from her lies. I learned that sometimes the only way to get justice is to take control and be ruthless. Trust me, nobody gets away with betrayal forever. Would you like me to continue? The days after I cut her out of my life were some of the hardest I've ever experienced, but also some of the clearest. I felt like I'd been living in a fog, confused, betrayed, humiliated. Now finally I was standing in the sunlight, knowing I had taken back control. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my peace. The pain still lingered, but it was different now. It was less about her and more about me. The first thing I did was remove all traces of her from my world. I changed my locks, deleted her number, and blocked her on every platform. I didn't want to see her face or hear her voice again. I wanted to erase the betrayal from my daily life to start fresh. I handed over the keys to her apartment and went to the bank, watching her name vanish from my accounts. That small act gave me a strange sense of finality. I also made a point to tell my closest friends what had happened. I didn't make it a big spectacle, but I needed them to know I was okay. They supported me from the start, and I owed them the truth. I told them how everything unfolded, the secret messages, the hotel receipts, the plan I'd executed. Their reactions ranged from shock to anger, but mostly they were proud of how I handled it. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I told them I was hurt, but I felt stronger than I had in years. Of course, I had days where the anger flared back up. I'd catch myself remembering her smile, her lie, and the way she looked at her lover like she was the only person in the world. That sting didn't go away overnight, but I refused to let it control me. Instead, I focused on myself. I started working out again, taking long walks and getting back into hobbies I'd neglected. Little by little, I built a new routine, one that didn't include her. One thing I learned through all this is that betrayal changes you if you let it, but it also teaches you who you really are. I found my strength in the aftermath of chaos. I realized I didn't need her validation, her excuses, or her lies. I only needed to remember my worth. No one, no matter how much they try, can take that away from you unless you let them. Looking back, I'm not proud of how angry I was, but I am proud of how I handled it in the end. I could have gone down a path of destruction, but I chose to control what I could. I showed her that her actions had consequences, and I took my power back. That's what revenge really is, standing tall after being knocked down. Now, I consider the whole ordeal a brutal but necessary lesson. It's taught me to trust my instincts, to pay attention to red flags, and to value myself enough not to accept betrayal. I don't harbor bitterness anymore. Instead, I focus on healing and moving forward. To anyone out there who's going through something similar, know your worth. Don't let anyone diminish you or make you doubt yourself. When someone betrays you, it's not just about anger or revenge, it's about reclaiming your dignity. Take control, be honest with yourself, and don't be afraid to walk away. Because, in the end, your peace of mind is worth more than any lie or betrayal. And as for me, I'm finally free. The wounds are healing and I'm stepping into a future I control. The trust was broken, yes, but I've learned how to rebuild myself stronger. I'll never forget what happened, but I will outgrow it. That's how I'll heal, by never letting her betrayal define me. I'll keep moving forward, knowing I did what I needed to do. And that's the truth about my story. Sometimes the greatest revenge is simply walking away, unbroken.